Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and believe it or not, contrary to popular opinion, I am not against emulation. In fact, one of my favorite devices in my gaming collection is an emulation device. It actually happens to be the Analogue Pocket, and I got the Analogue Pocket as a gift a couple Christmases. I think last Christmas or either last Christmas or the Christmas before. I got the Analog Pocket when I was going through a phase of really being into handheld games. I was very much into the GBA. I was heavily into DS and 3DS games. Um, and even though I never really got to start a Game Gear collection, I definitely had my eye on Game Gear games. And I never really bit the bullet on Game Gear. I'm actually glad I didn't, just because that's not a collection that I would honestly want to be into. I don't know, just Game Gear games. I don't know. There's just something about them that just haven't really appealed to me yet. Maybe there's one or two that I think might be cool. But the beautiful part about the Analog Pocket for me is that it's more than an emulation machine. It actually allows you to take advantage of physical games as well, because in the back, it comes with the native setup for Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games, and I believe Game Boy Advanced games. That's how the actual console or the unit comes. So you can fit most Game Boy games. I think I've got a Game Boy game here. So if we just go with Pokemon Red, I'm pretty sure that will fit. Yeah. So as you can see, the Pokemon Red, it fits in there. I think my battery needs a charge. I think my battery's actually dead, so it probably won't turn on. Yeah. But it does work with original Game Boy games, and I do believe it works with Game Boy Advance games as well. Let's just give it, yeah, so you could pop in a Game Boy Advance game in there. That will work. But the beautiful part about the Analog Pocket, for those of you who don't know, many of you already do, because the Analog Pocket's been out for some time, so a lot of you folks know everything that it can do. But one of the coolest factor to me is that it plays TurboGrafx, I think, carts, if I'm not mistaken. And then it comes with these little adapters that'll allow you to play all types of other handheld consoles. I'm not going to list them because there's so many, but it really becomes this, is the word ubiquitous? It becomes this kind of like one-stop shop for both emulation and physical gaming. And I feel like the Analog Pocket is almost like a symbol of how I view gaming in the future, to where it's amazing because it will allow you to emulate games that you may not necessarily want to go out and buy physically, but it does allow you to still take advantage of your physical collection. And the way it's designed, you can play a lot of different games on this device. And let's say you were going on a trip, you were going out of town, you were going on vacation, you don't even necessarily need to have and I don't know what this little spot is here. I might have to wipe that off. Probably something that maybe my daughter, my daughter had her hands on this a couple days ago, so I'm gonna have to double check and make sure she didn't leave any food on it. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. And whenever I see quality devices like this, it lets me know that emulation isn't so bad, after all. Now, there are a lot of different emulation devices out there. There's 101 different handheld emulation devices, and I hear people talk about them all the time. But just like anything else, for me and my collection, I'm typically going for the best quality, right? So the best quality games, the best quality devices, and the best quality experience. And even when it comes to emulation, there's many ways you can do emulation. You can buy a $100 or $50 handheld emulation device that might give you some fun for a couple of weeks, but maybe after a while it starts to break down. Maybe it's not constructed in the best way. Maybe it's not the most durable. Or you can spend a few $100s and get yourself a quality emulation device and have something that you can use for years to come. In fact, I think the price for these Analog Pockets, I think they're still up there. I don't know if they're above what their retail price was at this point, or if they've dropped back down. But I know the Analog Pocket at one point was very, very pricey. both new and used. And I think some of these shells that they have that they come in are extremely durable. And I think there's even a company that actually does like just like steel casing on the shells of these devices. But the point is that, listen, you can do emulation, but even when it comes to emulation, you can go the cheap route or you can find a quality device that gives you the best experience. And I think that's typically all we're ever really going for, is the best experience. And for me, the most convenient experience. I'm not the type of person who wants to deal with ROMs and files and have to figure out how to get files onto a device and this, that, and the third. I really look for devices that make the gaming process as easy and as seamless as possible for me, because I'm not really like a tech guy. I don't really enjoy tinkering and trying to figure these things out. I want to get the most plug and play devices possible. And for me, the Analogue Pocket was a no-brainer. So again, I think emulation is going to have its place in the future. I think emulation is going to be something that we need to have and something that we need to continue to progress and make better and better for those that come into the hobby that can't afford physical collections. Because let's just face it, not everyone is going to be able to afford a lot of the games that are out now, especially when you start to think about retro games. And I totally can understand a person not wanting to pay exorbitant prices for retro games when they could pay $60 or $70 and get a new game. I get that. But for me, I'm a preservationist. There are just certain things that I enjoy having in my collection. But I think if you're going to go physical, and if you are going to have a physical collection, and I've said this many times, you want to get into a niche. Find your niche. Find the specific niche of games that you enjoy the most and really zero in on that, because that's going to kind of help you stay laser focused and help you not go all over the place collecting a bunch of stuff. For me on the channel, you guys know what I'm about. Hack and slashers, beat 'em ups, shoot 'em ups. Although I haven't found a good shoot 'em up in a really long time. I feel like I've collected all the shoot 'em ups that I want, and all the best shoot 'em ups were on the Sega Saturn for me. And so like here, we could take a look at the shoot 'em up collection. I mean, here are all where all my shoot 'em ups reside. My favorite shoot 'em up of all time, obviously Hyper Duel. It's the best shoot 'em up ever. I challenge anyone who says that there's a better shoot 'em up. This is the best. The Dreamcast is also home to many of my favorite shoot 'em ups as well. Giga Wing 2. Yeah, that's really where a lot of my shoot 'em up collection is. It's really on the Sega Saturn, it's on the Dreamcast, it's on the Sega Genesis, and I have a couple on the NES. Not really a ton on the PlayStation 2. I've got a couple, R-Type Final, of course, Gradius 5, of course, Gradius, however you say it. But that's really what I'm about. I mean, I do have a couple, I guess, on the GameCube. Ikaruga, I always find one, and Chaos Field, two really great shoot 'em ups. If you've never heard of any shoot 'em ups that you could get on the GameCube, I think a lot of people know about Ikaruga. That's a famous one because a lot of people have it. A lot of people probably played it on the Switch, but I don't think a lot of people know about Chaos Field. Chaos Field is actually a really interesting shoot 'em up. It's like a bullet hell style shoot 'em up. I try to find a shoot 'em up on almost every console I get. Even on the Wii, there's some awesome shoot 'em ups. You got Castle of Shikigami 3. Not a lot of people even know that there was a third installment to Castle of Shikigami, but you have Castle of Shikigami 3 on the Wii, as well as you also have the Ultimate Shooting Collection on the Wii, which I think also has Chaos Field on it, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, sure does. So yeah, look, find the niche that you like, find the games that you like to play, and then collect for that. And then if you decide to slowly branch out, you can branch out if you feel like you want to branch out, right? Me, I've been getting into a little bit of survival horror. Shout out to Radical Reggie. He would always talk about survival horror games all the time, and I would just like turn my nose like, can't do it. And then one day I played a little bit of Saw, and I was like, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can see what this genre is about. So that's the joy of collecting physical. It's, there's also joy in emulation. But regardless of which route you go, the idea is quality over quantity. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think some of the best handheld emulation devices are. Do you think the Analogue Pocket is one of the top tier handheld devices. And if the Analogue Pocket isn't the best handheld emulation device, let me know down in the comments of any devices that you think beat out the Analogue Pocket. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.